Hey everyone, Monday night weather for Weather Geeks here on July 27th, 2015. This is the weather video that takes a much more in-depth look at the current and future weather than you're ever going to see on TV. We just have unlimited time, and this is geared towards people who want a lot of detail and also are kind of weather enthusiasts. So we like to show you all sorts of cool computer models and things like that. We're going to focus a lot on the long range tonight because obviously in the short term there's not a lot going on. The heat is the story. 88 the official high today, second warmest day of the year, and I think we'll do a little bit better than that tomorrow and Wednesday with highs getting into the lower 90s. Beautiful evening out there, crystal clear skies around the region. There's just absolutely nothing going on. We do have a scattering of showers and storms along an old frontal boundary that's kind of lollygagging down in here, and a threat for some severe weather out across the high plains this evening. We're going to be crystal clear as we go through the night tonight, and then tomorrow is going to be another bright and sunny day. Let's bring up the NAM model for tomorrow just to show you the temperatures tomorrow afternoon. Let's see what the NAM is showing here. As far as temperatures go, it's showing 87, 88, 89s here and there tomorrow afternoon at, this is at 3 p.m. You go ahead an hour or two, and yeah, there's going to be some places that get to 89 or 90 tomorrow afternoon. Now, the dew points tomorrow and Wednesday are not going to be through the roof. Here's a look at the NWS dew point forecast. The legend is down here at the bottom, or the time, that is, the timestamps. For Tuesday, we're going to see dew points mostly in the mid-60s. That's noticeable, but if the dew point were closer to 70 with temperatures around 90, we'd be talking about heat index values of 98, 99. With dew points around 62, 63, 64, the heat index will be a few degrees above the air temperature, but not real high above it. So we're not in, heat advisory range here or anything like that. This is just pretty garden variety heat. The thing is, of course, we haven't seen it that often over the last two summers. On Wednesday, dew points maybe a little more elevated, especially late in the day. I think the dew points will be kind of in the same range, mid-60s, during the hottest part of the day. Then as we go into Wednesday night and lose the heating of the day, the atmosphere is not as well mixed. It'll get pretty muggy ahead of our next front for Wednesday night. Well, speaking of the next front, this is not going to be a big rain producer for us. Let's take a look at the timing on this next front real quick here. That would be a Wednesday night. Here's Wednesday evening, showers, maybe some thunder out across Indiana at 8 p.m. I think any rain here would be well after sunset, and it might not be much more than a few hundredths of an inch. Models are showing this petering out quite a bit. So here's 2 in the morning, and yeah, there could be a shower, maybe a thunderstorm Wednesday night, but a lot of us are going to miss it, and a lot of us won't see a drop of rain during the entire work week. Thursday and Friday also looking dry. Here's a look at Friday afternoon. The end of the week, another high pressure zone right in through here, keeping us high and dry. Our best chance to get wet may be Saturday during the afternoon, and even that is probably not much. But here's our next week boundary pushing through on Saturday. The GFS would have you believe that there's a scattering of showers and storms Saturday afternoon. Overall rainfall totals over the next 7 days, maybe only a tenth and maybe 2/10 of an inch on average. Now, could someone get a few tenths of an inch more than that if you get under a heavy thunderstorm? Sure, but on average, a couple of tenths of an inch, that's it. Things are starting to actually get a little bit dry. Amazing considering we had 9 to 12 inches of rain in June, 4 inches of rain this month at the airport over the first couple of weeks of the month, but it's been pretty dry now for about a week to 10 days, and the next week is also going to be high and dry. What's the longer range have in store? Let's talk about the kind of the medium term here. This is the upper level pattern for the middle of the week. The reason why it's hot, well, the center of our high is shifted over towards Missouri. Strong ridging going on up here into the Great Lakes where you see these orange colors. There's the anomalies, the difference from average, in other words, of the heights of this level of the atmosphere up at about the 500 millibar level, typically around 18,000 feet. But when that level is higher than 18,000 feet, that's a ridge of high pressure. And sure enough, that's, again, the reason why it's going to be hot for a couple of days. But watch what happens to that. Pay attention as I roll this forward to this area right here, kind of this circular area. That's the center of our ridge of high pressure. Watch how this is going to start meandering back to the west. And by Friday, it's centered more over the Four Corners region. That will deflect the highest of the heat out to the southwest and into the plain states. And we're just kind of back. It's not a chilly pattern by any stretch, but we're just sort of back to typical summer heat by the end of the week with kind of a northwesterly bend, northwest to southeast bend of these lines. Our air mass will originate more over the very high plains or Canada rather than the plains of the U.S. and into the southwest. So, mid 80s for the end of the week and into the weekend. As we head into next week, again, next week I think starts with some typical July heat. The overall pattern kind of looks like winter with our closed off low over Hudson Bay, ridge out here over the southwest. And again, with a northwest flow, it's not a hot pattern, but it's not an abnormally cool pattern either. I think we could get into some abnormally cool weather, though, for August as we go towards the end of next week. Notice how the center of that low is no longer up here by next Thursday. It's meandering down a little farther to the south now, and that will draw in some chillier air, certainly. By chilly, I mean by August standards. So towards the end of next week, we're talking about the 6th, 7th, 8th of August, and we can have some days here that aren't much better than the mid-70s. That's about 5, 6, 7 degrees below average. So that's what we're looking at in a couple of weeks. Now, as far as the longer range, let's take a look at August here on the latest climate forecast system. Last 7 runs averaged out here. This continues to paint a cooler than average picture for us, not by a lot, but maybe by a degree or two over the course of the whole month. July is going to end up pretty close to average with the hot end of the month. August is probably going to start a little cooler than average, and there's going to be some hot days mixed in, but if you believe the latest climate models, August is likely to not be a scorcher of a month. It'll probably end up, when we add it all up at the end of the month, being a little bit below average. As far as precipitation here, there's not much of a signal either way locally. Latest 7 runs of the CFS would show about average precipitation during the month of August. And just for fun, here's the latest runs of the heart of winter here, basically January, February, March, early 2016. Classic El Nino look to this. It's going to be real interesting, the winter forecast this year. You got a raging El Nino, but still a lot of warm water off the coast of North America that could make for an interesting blend here. And again, if you believe these models, it would suggest Canada has a very warm winter, and that's typical of an El Nino. It would suggest that the southwest and the southern tier of the U.S. has a cool winter, again, very typical of El Nino. And locally here, we might be somewhere in the middle. Now, even if we have an average winter temperature-wise, it's going to feel a lot different than the last couple winters because, of course, it's been so cold. So an average winter for most of us would be perceived as a warm winter, simply because of how cold the last couple have been. Precipitation, again, classic El Nino look to things here with a wet west coast, a wet southern tier of states, including Florida, where they actually need the rain, and perhaps the East Coast. Back here across the Midwest, typically in El Ninos, this is a dry area. And then for us, if you believe the latest runs here, it might be typical winter precipitation-wise. Again, we've had a couple of very snowy winters, particularly the winter of 2013, 2014. So even if we have an average winter, it'll seem much, much less snowy. Average winter around here is about 60 inches. A little less in the southern part of our viewing area, a little more in the north, but on average about 60 inches. So, we're a long way from winter, but, it's kind of the doldrums of summer here. There's not a lot to talk about. So I wanted to give you the latest computer model information there, something we'll be looking at with, much interest as we head towards the fall and start really focusing in on the winter forecast. Thanks for watching the Monday Night Weather for Weather Geeks. I'll see you tonight on 21 News at 11. Have a great Monday night.